My decision.
Let's
Good
do
morning.
it. Let's do it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to One Heart, One Mind. And here are the lyrics to our opening song, Love is My Decision. And Richard's going to take it away.
Oops, let me hit this. Got it. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here, right now.
Thank you. I love that. That was a wonderful intro. Thanks so much. Oh, and this morning, our practitioner of the day is Ralane Clark. Ralane's on her iPhone, but she's still going to participate with us today. Good morning, Ralane. I'm going to invite you to do our opening prayer.
Great. Good morning. Well, let's just close our eyes and feel the beautiful, loving presence of Spirit, of God, that amazing energy that's surrounding everywhere, everyone and everything, each and every one of us here attending the Zoom service, Reverend Michelle, Richard in the music, and all of us that are here present this morning to feel this amazing, beautiful presence of Spirit of God in and of and through each and every one of us, and radiates out to all those who aren't here with us. That just amazing flow of energy and goodness and kindness and compassion and joy, peace and ease, and just a heartfelt love. And I just know that today's service is perfect in every way, that Reverend Michelle's message is really great, and everything flows in this beautiful, loving, gentle, yet powerful way throughout this entire service. And I simply say, and so it is.
Ralane, do you have a copy of your quote? I don't know if you can see this. You probably can't see the screen.
I think
Can
I
you
can
see
see.
this?
I can see the
Okay.
screen. Yeah.
Oh, you can. Okay, good. All right, here we go.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay. I wanted to share this quote. This is by Rabbi Zolman, and he passed away some time ago, but he was a really great rabbi, and he created the Havra synagogue here in Ashland and also one in Portland, and there's really no other synagogues quite like them. And then Rabbi David took over for him, and Rabbi Zolman was his mentor and teacher. The quote is, "The awareness that we stand in the presence of the living God is one of the most important realizations we can install in our operative consciousness. God is always present. The question is, how present are we? We want to stand in that presence without opacity. Our work is to penetrate in meditation and in action to the very heart of being, Nakak Panei Hashem, Lamentations 2:19, of truly being present before God." So let us take a moment to truly be present before God. And as we return to the presence of this Zoom room, let us know that God is present and that we are also present for God for this entire service and always. And here is February's affirmation. Today, I know in the depth of my heart that I am one with God. I feel the presence of the divine flowing within me. I feel its love guiding me forward with ease and grace. And I walk confidently in the light of divine love. I am one with God. God is one with me. And so it is.
Michelle, you're muted.
Well, I was talking and you should be able to hear me through my unmutedness. I just said that I really, really, really enjoyed that quote that you shared. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and so fitting for today's message. So we have Richard's going to sing one of my favorites. It must be Daniel Nahmod Day, because Love Is My Decision is a Daniel Nahmod song, and so is this one. And it is, it's a beautiful song he wrote called One Power.
It is beautiful. One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. It's one power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Ba'ula, Angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power. Can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. You know, we speak so many languages. We have different clothing. We're different colors. We've got different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart, we're all the same. We'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or Heaven's Door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power, one power, one power, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandoned, for it's love that's most deep. It's one power. It's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. One power, one power, one power, one power, one power. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power. Thank you, Michelle. Blessings to all.
It's the power of the love in you and me. I love that song, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The power of the love in you and me. So good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And we're in February now. February's theme is, well, we still have Living Everyday Wonder, which was last year's themes, but we've expanded. We are Living Everyday Wonder, the inner life. So this month, we're going to take a look at what's going on in our inner world, to remind ourselves that while we're dressed in these human bodies, these physical human bodies, and we have a human personality, we are so much more than that. We're these divine beings who are having an experience in physical form. And we're called to connect with and to co-create with this presence, this source that we're one with, that we are always connected to, and we're called to express the divine on this physical plane of existence, to express love in our daily lives, in our humanness. And I believe that we are meant to bring meaning and purpose to our world through this conscious contact with our source, with God's Spirit. Whatever name you give it, as we just heard in that beautiful song, there are so many. And this morning's message is, can I see God in me? Great question, right? And the right place to go for the answer is to our inner life. It's the place where we clarify and we understand and we experience exactly who we are in union with our source, with our creator. The most fundamental spiritual principle in the science of mind teaching is our oneness with our source and our oneness with all of life. The very first statement, I wrote it down, my quotes. The very first statement in our Declaration of Principles, or also called the What We Believe statement, is this: we believe in one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause, God, Spirit. The one manifests itself in and through all of creation, and we're the creation, part of the creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. We take nothing away from our creator. We add to it. We enhance it and contribute to it. And it's clear that Ernest Holmes, our founder, saw the unity of all life. He drew on, as he says in the Science of Mind text, he drew on science and spiritual traditions of all over our planet in all times, ancient and current. And he also drew on his own intuitive knowing to understand and to experience this oneness. And he encouraged us, he still encourages us through his writings and his teachings, to explore our own personal relationship with our creator. And I believe that today's message is the right empowering question to continually ask ourselves, can I see God in me? How connected am I to my source right now, in this moment, today, right now? I'm reminded of a story, and I think I know the story by heart, but I'm reminded of a story about a woman. She'd led a very good life. She was a loving and caring and compassionate person. She always tried to live in integrity with her values and her beliefs. And after a good, long life, she made her transition and she arrived at the gates of heaven. And she knocked. And then she heard the voice of God asking her, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am." And to that, God responded, "I'm sorry, heaven is full. There's no room for you. Come back another time." So the woman went back to earth and she meditated some more. And when she felt ready, she returned to heaven and she knocked. And God said, "Who are you?" And she answered again, "I am." And again, God said, "Heaven's full. Come back later." So she returned to earth again. And this time she fell into a deep meditation. She felt a deep and profound shift and connection. And when she returned to heaven the third time, she knocked. And the voice of God asked, "Who are you?" And the woman replied, "You are." And the gates of heaven opened, and God said, "There was no room for me and someone else. There's only room for one." In the Science of Mind tradition, we teach that there is not God and something else. There is only God. And if that is true, then that includes us. We are part of it. We are part of that one life. And I have to confess that way back in the early 90s, when I was first introduced to this idea of our oneness with God, having come off of a very traditional spiritual upbringing, it was really difficult for me to wrap my head around the fact that everything is God. I mean, after all, who did I think I was to see myself as God? Even to say that I was a part of God seemed kind of sacrilegious and a little bit arrogant. But as I studied and I learned and I dove into my spiritual practice, I soon realized that it really can't be any other way. How could we not be a part of the divine oneness of life? You know, there is an intelligence and order and a harmony that runs through everything. You know, we can see it. All we have to do is look at the natural world, and we understand it through the wonderful discoveries of science. And maybe even most importantly, we can feel it in our innermost being, in our moments of silent contemplation, and in our spiritual practices, and in those moments when we feel really connected to the natural world. I know we've talked about this before, about how when we walk sometimes in the natural world, we feel that inherent and innate connection to everything, you know, watching the ocean or walking in the forest, or, you know, we have those moments of awe and wonder that we talked about that so much last month, about being connected and feeling that awe and wonder and curiosity. How could we not be part of God and part of the one life? You know, as I was preparing, I'm always looking, whenever I'm getting ready to prepare a talk, I'm always looking for inspiration and resources. And I remembered that little book of Ernest Holmes. Actually, I brought it with me, so you probably have seen it before. This little book, Can We Talk to God? And I was looking for something to really bring this point home about our oneness and our inherent connection with this source. And I remembered that in this little book, Holmes addresses this idea, not only knowing that we're one with source, but to intuitively be able to communicate with our source. You know, he talks about how we experience ourselves as separate human beings as we walk through our physical world. We have to, but that we also intuitively feel and sense a connection to that something larger, to that larger life. I'm going to read you a quote from there. So he wrote this. In the new idea of life, we are thinking of God as a universal principle, intelligence and power as the essence and the energy of being. We are thinking of God, or attempting to, at least, in universal terms. But it is impossible for the finite to grasp the meaning of the infinite. And I just thought that was so profound. I have this finite brain that sees everything in 3 dimensions in the physical world. How am I going to be able to intellectually grasp the idea of something infinite? You know, and I think that Holmes is just telling us that the concept of God, this infinite God or universal principle, has to be felt in a different way. It has to be felt clearly from an internal connection. You know, Holmes clearly saw, as did his mentor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, that we're connected to a larger order of life. You know, Emerson, I have an Emerson quote too, because Holmes pulled from Emerson so much. Emerson called it the oversoul, and he wrote in the Emerson essays, you probably all read some piece of the Emerson essays, but he wrote, meantime, within mankind, I'm saying, is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. You know, and I can feel Holmes inviting us to know God through this connection, not just through our finite understanding, as he said. And we can, of course, find this idea of unity in almost every spiritual tradition. It's a spiritual principle that is innate within us. And so it pops up in every spiritual tradition and philosophy almost. And I really believe that it's innate within us and we can feel it to some degree. However, I have to say that in our time and in our culture, where we like to see everything in physical and scientific terms, we've kind of gotten away from trusting our intuitive knowing. You know what I mean? But I believe it's time for us to daily cultivate and nurture this connection. Our ancestors did it quite easily, but slowly and surely over time, we've come to view this intuitive knowing and the things that we can't prove scientifically as fiction or wishful thinking or woo-woo stuff. You hear that word all the time. Oh, that's just woo-woo. We don't trust our intuition as much as I believe we should and that we can. And Holmes also addressed this bit on that same page. I know I'm doing a lot of quotes, but I think this is pretty brilliant. And this is a kind of a long quote, but I really think it's valuable to hear Holmes's whole thought on this. So I'm going to read this whole quote. And I'll read it slowly so you can really hear it. So Holmes wrote in Can We Talk to God? We are thinking of God as a universal and infinite being, as perfect law, the immutable law of cause and effect. And in doing that, discarding the ancient idea of a huge person in the nature of a deity, that God in the sky kind of God, which I think is a good thing. He goes on, we are undoubtedly losing something. He believes that in losing this idea of something, of a deity, that we're losing something. We are losing the sense of personal contact with this invisible power. And we are liable to think of God only as law or as an infinite it. Now, as an infinite it is a valuable, it is an adequate thing in certain respects, but in other respects, it is very inadequate. We could not derive much comfort, pleasure, or joy from talking to the principle of chemical affinity. Good point. Yet we do derive a great benefit from learning that such a law exists. Neither can, and here's really the point that I really want to make. Neither can we hope to get much satisfaction from thinking of God only as an infinite it. Well, Dr. Holmes, I think that's pretty well said. We don't want to know God as something sitting in a cloud in the sky directing traffic. And yet we do want to feel a personal God. At least I do. I can probably speak for you in that desire as well. Holmes knew that if we only knew God intellectually as an impersonal principle, that we would be losing something so important to our humanity, so important to bring meaning and purpose and joy to our human experience. In my quiet moments of connection with my Creator, with the God of my understanding, if I can feel peace and comfort and love, then I can reason that that must be the nature of God, the nature of my Creator. And maybe this personal loving connection is just as important, or maybe more important, than just knowing God intellectually as a principle. Yes, there's value in knowing God as a universal principle. I always think of the Force from Star Wars, but isn't it just as important to know God as an intimate part of our lives? To ask that question, can I see God in me? Is there that deep, abiding connection as I walk through my day? Isn't it just as important to cultivate our intuitive connection with this presence through the pathway of our heart, through our feeling, not just our intellectualizing and our thought? I believe one of the reasons that we've created God in our image, which we have, or personified God as a deity, is because as human beings, we connect through relationships. And it's much easier to have a relationship with someone like us, a personality, than to have a relationship with a universal principle. Yes, we can feel and understand that movement and that energy, but to have a relationship, it's easier if we think of it as this individual. How we feel in connection to our Creator is just as important a factor in understanding who we are as what we discover through science. Both ways of knowing and experiencing God are valuable. I don't want to lessen or trivialize either one. I think both are necessary, and both bring a richness to our life and a depth of experience into our humanity. And, I can't help but think that the great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung was right when he said, and I wrote this down because I love this, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Oh, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Our inner world, our heart, is where we awaken to who we truly are. And who we truly are is our connection with our source. The pathway of our heart awakens us to our source. And in our modern age, scientists have pretty much typically searched for the seat of human consciousness, primarily by examining the functions of our brain. But is consciousness really only connected to our brain? Many ancient traditions thought of the heart as the primary seat of consciousness, as the primary seat of our connection to the divine. And we've kind of moved away from that in our culture, but you can still hear the idea of this alive in our language a lot. Have you ever said or heard someone else say, my heart is telling me this or that? Your heart often tells you something different than your head does. Have you ever said something, it is really heartfelt? What they said was really heartfelt. We can feel that connection. It's a different way of knowing. We still carry the vestiges of this idea of the heart being the wiser of the two, of our heart and brain, in our language, even though our culture has really grown to kind of disregard our intuitive knowing of the heart. But wonderful age we live in, science is beginning to uncover the wisdom of our heart. Our spiritual journey is not just about our head, it's about our heart, and to feel and experience the presence of God. And there's a lot of research today that points to our heart as the seat of wisdom. The heart, it seems, is more similar to the brain than any other organ in the body. The heart has, and I know I've said this before, it has something called glial cells or neurons that are very much like the brain. And the heart sends out the information that it gathers not through thoughts and words, but through feelings, through how we feel. And I read this before I did the talk, and I'm just going to briefly say that the heart employs the use of the vagus nerve to deliver information through a neuropeptide called oxytocin. It's also called the love chemical. I'm sure you've heard of oxytocin. And I am not going to try and explain the physiology of how the wisdom of the heart is distributed. If you're really interested, go to the Heart Math Institute webpage, and they have some wonderful explanations and videos that can tell you all about the physiology. But I probably wouldn't explain it very well anyway. And the truth is, I don't think I really even have to tell you. I am confident that you probably know, you probably have had that intuitive hit of knowing. It's a feeling that we know something without knowing why we know it. I believe it's from the heart. The heart is the gateway to our deep intuitive knowing, from the connection we have with our source, from that one life. Here's where we have this intuitive brilliance that we are a part of, and we can tap into that. And research by the Heart Math Institute has shown that the heart actually sends more information to the brain than the other way around. And the heart, this is really interesting. The heart responds to stimuli way before the brain does. And even more amazing is that the heart registers a response sometimes 7 seconds before a stimulus is even experienced. And it shows us that the heart intuitively knows what's coming before it appears, which is pretty amazing, actually. Especially if that stimulus might trigger some kind of emotional response in us, then we feel it very, very deeply. And I think this whole idea about the wisdom of our heart brings a whole new meaning to the idea of listening to our heart and listening to our intuitive knowing. And I believe that's the way forward for us as individuals and collectively as humanity, to move into conscious union with our source by cultivating feelings in our heart, feelings that we want to experience in our life, feelings that we want to be a part of our world. We experience them in our heart, and we generate that as we create our lives. And, it's true, Science of Mind teaches that the most productive spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer are the ones that are backed with a feeling component. We always say, feel as if the thing has happened. It's the focus of our thoughts along with the feeling of our heart that empowers our spiritual mind treatments. Ernest Holmes again. I know this is a day of lots of quotes. I don't have it there. Oh, here, I have it here. For some reason, I didn't write it on my quotes page. I don't know why. Hang on a minute, I got it on here. Here it is. If we make ourselves receptive to the idea of love, we become lovable. To the degree we embody love. And when we embody something, we become that something. We feel it, we embody it, it's in our body. And then he goes on. If we make ourselves receptive to the ideas of peace, poise, and calm, calling upon these divine realities, we find them flowing through us and we become peaceful, poised, and calm. We demonstrate who we are, who we become, who we embody, not just what we think about. So meditation of all kinds, gratitude practices, experiencing wonder and awe and curiosity, all the things that we talked about last month, really do draw us into a deeper felt experience of our heart. And, as we slow ourselves down, we move into those slower and slower brainwave patterns or frequencies. And that makes our subconscious or subjective mind more suggestible and more receptive, not only to thought, but to the intuitive knowing through our connection to the wisdom of our heart, to the wisdom of the divine. We become more receptive to that as we slow down in our meditations and in our contemplative spiritual practices. I learned something that's, I just really want to share this. I know I'm going a little long. I learned something recently, and you may already know this, but this was really new for me. And it's just sort of another tool to keep in our tool belts. And have you ever had those moments when you find it difficult to kind of settle yourself down and meditate? I do, especially if something's going on in my life and excuse me, and I really want to go into prayer, go into spiritual mind treatment, but I'm having trouble slowing down and getting calm and centered. Well, I recently learned this new trick. There's something called binaural beats. I'd never heard of them before, but I've been playing with them all week. And it's when two tones at slightly different frequencies are played. You have to wear headphones, one in each ear. And here's the beautiful thing. Our brains are so amazing. The brain with one frequency in one ear and the other in the other, the brain creates a new third frequency. And this third frequency is called a binaural beat. And it provides many of the same benefits as meditation. It lowers stress, it increases positive moods, it helps you sleep, it fosters creativity. And, and when we meditate, listening to these binaural beats, it's musical. I found all kinds of binaural beat music. You go into a much deeper meditation, and I found that to be true. Like I said, I've been practicing it all week, and I was able to find quite a bit of binaural beat music on Amazon Music. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get Amazon Music for free. So if you're interested, look there. And I really found it helpful, and my meditation truly was a little bit deeper and more connected. I was able to go into that place. Heart math calls it a congruent state between my heart and my brain. And it just really, I felt expanded. So I really believe that the way forward for us individually and collectively is through cultivating and nurturing our connection to the divine through the pathway of our heart. And we have it in us to train ourselves to feel our way into the lives we want to live and to feel our way into the world we want to live in. And we do it like this. We not only think about what we're grateful for, we feel gratitude. We not only think about the people we love, we feel love. We not only talk about peace, we feel peaceful. I believe that the pathway of the heart can transform our world. I really believe it will. And I encourage you this week to practice feeling a quality of the divine that you want to experience more of in your life, and to see how it begins to outpicture in your life. So I want to close today. Let's see if I can find my book page. Here it is. One of my favorite books, and I think I've said this before, is a little book by a man named U.S. Anderson. I think his first name is Ulysses. It's an older book. It was written back in the 50s, and it's called Three Magic Words. And in the very last chapter of his book, the chapter is called The Key. He writes something that I think is so profound. So I'm going to share it with you. He wrote, "This is the ineffable secret, the ultimate illumination, the key to peace and power. You are God. If you will accept this towering truth, dare to stand atop this magnificent pinnacle, universal consciousness will be revealed to you from within. God is there. It is He who peers from behind your eyes, who is your own consciousness, who is your very self. You are not just a part of God. You are altogether God, and God is altogether you." Let's pray. Let's take a nice deep centering breath in, knowing that you are altogether God, and God is altogether you. All there is God. This expansive, beautiful, creative, wise, intuitive, feeling, loving, beautiful, and marvelous presence of life. And it moves through us. It moves through all of us. It moves through life. It expresses itself and knows itself in such delightful ways through our human experience. So I speak my word for and about everyone that is on this call and everyone that is on this planet, that there is a shift and allowing, a welcoming in our consciousness that says yes. Yes to all of it. Yes to the beauty of the loving power and presence. Yes to healthy bodies. Yes to overflowing and abundant lives that prosper and are vital. And these beautiful vehicles that we call our body, that we express the divine in form. It just flows effortlessly and easily through everything we are and through everything we do. And there is a richness in our lives where we know that we are valuable and meaningful and our lives have purpose, and there is joy. Oh, just joy. So I sit in this with open arms that are expanded through gratitude. Thank you, God, for this truth. Thank you, God, for this ability to co-create with you, with us, with one, all together. So I just relax in knowing that these words are true and that I just release them with confidence into the laws of the immutable law of creation. And it says yes. So I just relax in knowing that all is well. And together we signify by saying, and so it is. Deep breath. And so it is. And Leslie, I believe that you're doing our benediction, and would you like, oops, I muted myself. Would you like to do the time of sacred giving?
Sure. We take this opportunity to support Spirit as we are able to help people learn more about it through what we teach. And it is this giving that aids in that happening. And we have a couple of ways that we can give. One is through Venmo, which is an online transaction where the money goes directly into our checking account. Or if you wish to send a check, you can direct that to our Assistant Treasurer, Jim Massipus, and he has just put up that address that you can send it to. Now let us join together in saying the sacred giving. I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of Spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind, and so it is. Okay.
Robert, did you want to do the announcements?
I'm ready.
Okay.
This is your friendly neighborhood announcer with the announcements. So tomorrow evening, Monday, it's a continuation of the Monday evening prayer group, which is about a half an hour of mostly silent prayer for the center and for each other and for any other cause or person or reason for which you would like to pray. Then this Tuesday, we continue our Tuesday evening learning and expansion of consciousness sessions with the Reverend Maureen Bishop, healing the heart of the family. And Maureen is raising her hand out of sight here. No, now it's in sight. She wants to say something about it.
Well, Michelle, I'm sending you 2 separate emails with 2 attachments. One is a tree, and we're going to do our family trees. It's got little lines for you to put your name in the tree. So if you can send those out to whoever may want to join us. And then there's a list of abbreviations that we will put into the tree. And we'll be working on a little forgiveness and gratitude and release of all the trends in the family that no longer serve our highest good. So I hope you join me. Thank you.
So you'll send those to me, Maureen, then I can send them out to everyone.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
sent one. I sent the little tree.
Oh, okay,
Abbreviations.
great, thank you.
And this week, we're starting a new tradition. This Friday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom, we're going to have a One Heart, One Mind cocktail party on Zoom. So bring your own drinks of either alcoholic or non-alcoholic as you wish, and join us for a night of conversation and laughter. And then lastly, I'd like to put in a plug for those of us who are practitioners. We're underutilized, so start utilizing us more. Now you can go to the website, and all the practitioners have bios there, and there's a button that you can click to to contact whichever practitioner you choose and get prayer for whatever you need, you would like to have prayer for. It can be something big, it can be something small. Because remember, there is no big and small in this universe of consciousness. So do that.
Yeah.
I invite you to do. And I think that's it for the announcements, unless somebody else has
Well,
something.
I wondered if anybody had a February birthday. Anybody have a February birthday? My brother does. We can sing happy birthday to him.
Masochist has one.
Yeah, Olivia does
Jim
too.
does. Jim
Oh,
does.
yeah? Who does?
Jim does.
Jim does?
This
I thought you-
Jim, the Jim you don't see.
I thought you were June for some reason, or is that?
Oh,
Is that
February
Leslie?
21st.
Mhm.
Oh, well, happy birthday. Let's sing happy birthday to Jim
And Olivia does too.
and Olivia.
Oh, and I would say just make sure everyone is muted, because if not, then you can hear your voices and there's a delay in that. So
Got
let's
it.
sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim and Olivia and whoever else. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks. Happy birthday, Jim. Hopefully we'll remember before then too. Happy birthday, Stephen, my brother Stephen. All right. And you know, I want to piggyback on what Robert said, because I think it's really important. I think, you know, sometimes we talked about this at our practitioner meeting. Sometimes there's that fine line between, well, should I just pray for this on my own, or should I, as Rob put it, call out the cavalry, you know, by going to a practitioner? And, you know, you don't have to wait until your life is not working the way you want it or some major thing happens. Go to a practitioner to have them help you, because sometimes practitioners, they're not connected emotionally to your life, so they can be a little bit more objective. And they can help you create a space to create that heart connection so you can create the life you want to live. And maybe move you out of some stuckness that you didn't even realize you had. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So who would like to just say hello, comment
Peace.
on the service, anything? Rob?
Peace song.
What?
Do
Oh,
the
I
peace.
almost forgot the peace song. Let's sing the peace song. Yes, sorry.
The benediction too.
Benediction.
Does that go first, or does the
I
music?
got ahead of myself, sorry. No,
Let's
go
all
ahead and
do-
sing the peace song, then we'll do the benediction. You're already on a roll, Richard.
Let's all join together in the benediction.
Okay. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With love as our power, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.
All right, Leslie, now you can do the benediction. Sorry, we kind of got turned around.
Okay, let's just all take a deep breath. As we know that power at the center of us is God. And that power Now let's loose its life force energy that expresses in our lives as humor, love, happiness, joy, and compassion, and understanding, and peace. We are thankful for this great expression that is working through us, knowing that as we express these great characteristics, there is greater love that is taking place on this planet. And we are so very, very thankful to be part of that process that is now unfolding. So we let it happen. We just let it out and let it express and open our hearts, knowing that it affects everyone that we come in contact with. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Leslie. That was beautiful. And thank you, Richard, for the music today. And thank you, Ralane, for the beautiful invocation and quote. Thank you, Robert, for announcements. And thank you, everyone, for being here. It's always a delight. Anybody want to share?